Today I will be completing part 2 of the October 2021 SAT Writing and Language section. This will be the last video before we begin the math section, which includes the Math Note calculator and the math calculator. Those will be time sections. Okay, so we can begin right now. Okay. Managing expectations. In the workplace, managers' expectations regularly become self-fulfilling prophecies, for better or worse. Okay, I'll just make this a continuous scroll. Okay, yeah. In the workplace, so you can see better. In the workplace, managers' expectations regularly become self-fulfilling, for better. So they put a comma here, right? So they're saying in the workplace. No, you cannot put a modifying phrase because this is important. This sentence impacts this other part. So without this, it wouldn't make sense. In the workplace, for better or worse implies. It's this part that impacts this part. So you cannot put this cannot be a modifying phrase. So it cannot be a workplace manager. No, you need some type of punctuation because you have two independent clauses. Regularly become. No, that just cuts off the sentence. D. Become self-fulfilling prophecies for better, and then they explain for better or worse employees end up. So this part, the self-fulfilling prophecies, is explaining. This is expanding on the self-fulfilling prophecies. Researchers have long known both that positive managerial expectations can lead to increased employee performance and that supervisors often have difficulty communicating such beliefs, especially if they are, right? We're talking about plural, the beliefs. It's more than one, they, right? Not this, that, they. For example, subtle nonverbal signals, such as facial expressions, operate on a subconscious level, betraying, you don't need to say and showing, betraying the true feelings. Yeah, comma right here. Betraying, no. And you don't have to say and showing the truth. If you're betraying, you're kind of hiding the true feelings you have. So, yeah, and it's not a, yeah. Okay, 26. The writer wants to add the following sentence. Thus, managers' words may tell one story and their face is another. Well, this goes perfectly right here, right? The nonverbal signals, the facial expressions, they betray their true feelings. So, managers' words may tell one story, but their facial expressions, since they operate on a subconscious level, that they betray their true feelings, they may tell another story. So, after sentence 3. In the 1960s, an experiment at the Metropolitan Life Insurance Company demonstrated how ambitious goals, you don't say how can, we're talking about how this part can powerfully, how ambitious goals can powerfully communicate positive expectations. This would have been a question, but it doesn't make sense. So no, ambitious goals can, but again, not a question. Yeah, D. One of the company's best placed him under the leadership of his best assistant manager and tasked the group with a lofty sales goal, which acted as a clear sign of management's confidence in the group abilities. That makes sense, right? Because since they were confident in the group's abilities, he got the six best insurance agents. He placed them under the leadership of the best assistant manager, and he tasked the group with a sales goal. So he believed in them. So, yeah, this is good. Cool. The manager reports the results of the industry know and not experiment. Well, sales goals are typically set once the market. You see, the problem with this is maybe, but I don't think it's that. But because it's not about the sales goals, right? It was about kind of all these things, the belief that he had in them and how it was displayed. So it was not about the sales, it was about the people. It was a part of plan of the man. Okay, this is wrong. Variation certain, that's the problem. 29. Which choice most effectively combines the sentences in the line portion? People within the company began referring to this group as the super staff. The 6 agents who made up the group performed accordingly. So, okay, people, there's a super staff. Okay, people within the group began referring to the group, which was the 6 agents, right? We don't have to say the 6 agents again because we're the super staff. We already know they're the 6. So they began referring to the group as the super staff and the 6 agents. Okay, we can refer, and the 6 agents performed accordingly, boosting. Yeah, this is good. And the group made up of, you don't want to say the group made up of, we already know that stuff. They, the 6 agents, again, you don't want to say they. The staff with the agents, all 6 of them, yeah, this. And with the agents, you don't want to say that. So A, yeah, A is the best. Providing employees with learning opportunities such as attending a professional conference or taking an online course also communicates positive. Right? Yeah, we do need this because it's expanding on the learning opportunities for the people, such as attending for the agents. Yeah, it clarifies. Yes, it expands on it. Yep. It's not a counterpoint, because it fails effectively to set up the discussion of the research. This probably supports the research that comes because no. Okay, so next, let's start here. However, the research team noted that some of the bosses were biased. They made these activities available only to employees they considered to have high potential. A behavior that, okay, so we're talking about the behavior that risks, because it's singular, that risks creating a situation in which employees considered to have low potential fail to develop their skills. In determining an employee's potential, supervisors should make these experiences available to all. What choice program must extend transition? Okay. So what did we talk about here? We talked about some bosses were biased, and they made these activities available only to employees they considered to have low potential. And so this is basically how can we solve the issue of bosses' bias to create fair opportunities for all agents, right? So in spite of inevitable fail, you don't want to say inevitable, though some skills are more difficult to know. I think it's D. Yeah, to avoid this part, what can we do? We can make these experiences available to all. These 2 strategies are simple yet powerful, and workplace leaders will be wide. The evidence is clear. Managers and staff alike benefit from an atmosphere where, you don't say that, where, okay, that's not there, so it's not that, you don't say that, it doesn't make sense. Staff alike benefit from an atmosphere in which, yeah, we have to say the atmosphere we're specifying, in which expectations are high and opportunities exceed. We have to specify with the in. Postal privacy. In his 1928 dissent on the case of Olmsted versus United States, U.S. Supreme Court Justice Louis Brandeis pledged. You don't want to say pledged. No, I don't think that's right. I'll put that as, okay, definitely not demanded and not divulged. Asserted? He asserted that phone call. Yeah. I mean, if it's between asserted and pledged, I would go with asserted for sure. Pledged is like too formal though. Yeah, you don't want to say that. Pledged that phone conversations are subject. No, they're not subjected. They're subject to, right? They are prone to privacy protection, which prohibits unreasonable. It's not subjects of, so the subjection of. It's like subjected to is like the treatment of something, so like that doesn't make sense. Which prohibits. Brandeis' argument is a key precedent for modern legal interpretations of the Fourth Amendment. I mean, I don't see anything wrong with that. Lawyer type thinking. Okay, you don't want to say lawyer type thinking. That's formal. Think legal bigwigs. Okay, again, that's wrong. The law with law pundits. Wrong again. It's A. The best choice. To make this paragraph most less, sentence 5 should be placed. Okay, let's see. However, the U.S. Constitution makes no explicit reference to such privacy. So we have to have a sentence that talks about privacy before. According to law, no. Either sentence 1. Okay. U.S. Supreme Court pledged that phone conversations are subject to privacy protection, which prohibits But he says under the Fourth Amendment, though. However, the U.S. Constitution makes no explicit reference to. Okay, let's move on, Brandon. No, but then you say it's a key. How can you say this after 1 and then say after that it's a key precedent for modern of the Fourth Amendment? Now, this part starts this. You see how we're leading into this part? Because there's legal interpretation, so there's arguments and stuff like that. Indeed, the influence of his argument has been so widespread that many in the United States assume that the Fourth Amendment played. Yes, you want to put it after this because we're talking about the argument, right? The influence it has. So after sentence 3. So you would say that, indeed, the influence of his argument has been so widespread that many assume that the Fourth Amendment. So we're saying, indeed, this is true, but the U.S. Constitution makes no explicit reference to such privacy. As tensions between loyalists and revolutionaries escalated during the 1770s, the British-controlled colonial postal service became an increasing source of concern, even though the American Secretary wanted to avoid going to war. Okay, so which choice most effectively develops the information earlier in the sentence and sets up the information in the sentence as follows? So earlier we talked about how there is no explicit reference in the Constitution to the privacy and tension, right? Loyalists escalated, even though the American wanted to avoid going to war. But this has nothing to do with the privacy, so no. But new taxation, again, it's not about the privacy. In response to the establish an independent, yeah, it's about the privacy, so nothing about the war or anything. No, it's not about the critics, it's about the private community. Yes, the privacy. The Second Continental Congress established an independent mail service in 1775 that provided. You don't have to say that had provided. We're already talking about this. What did this do? It provided safeguards for confidentiality. Will is future, provides no. Yeah, provided. It's in the past. You don't have to say had provided. Yeah. That provided safeguards for confidentiality, such as a provision that mail for delivery be under lock and key. Just because it's the most relevant to that. Well, I mean, this is nothing wrong. Under lock and key, right? If you think of it, it's like an analogy, under lock and key. So it's kind of going to be secret. It's going to be confidential. It's going to be independent of any others, like suspicion of anything or whatever it is. No one's going to know it. Under lock and key, yeah. I think this is good. Service to and from each other. That has nothing to do with privacy. Delivery, again, no. I think A is the best. Okay. Although the Bill of Rights had been ratified in 1791, Desai notes. Okay, we don't need any punctuation. Desai notes that the legal. Yeah, notes that the legal. Yeah, we don't need any punctuation here. No. It's not like he's saying a quote where you put a comma and then like that. It's just saying what his observation. So I think it's B. Yeah. There is no evidence. Okay. U.S. Supreme Court justices who eventually held U.S. Supreme Court justices who eventually held that certain forms of surveillance. Okay, let me think about this one. Okay, so is it? This one's tricky. But is Supreme Court justices those who eventually? I don't think you don't want to say those because we're already specifying the Supreme Court justices, okay? And who eventually held? Weird. U.S. Supreme Court justices eventually held that certain forms. U.S. Supreme Court justices, who? U.S. Supreme Court justices who? I don't like this and who. Because we're already specifying that though. Yeah, it's not B. U.S. Supreme Court justices eventually held that. U.S. Supreme Court justices who eventually. I think it's. This one's tough. I'm gonna start this one. 1 second. Let's go to 43. For them in the 1870 extended the meaning of papers in the fourth to include sealed letters in the postal service system. Conversely, making postal siding on, thus making making postal policy a constitutional principle. Well, this is. I don't think. Well, you would say. The thing with moreover is like, in other words, besides. Why would you say besides the point? We're talking about the point of this, the effect of it, the cause and effect. So I think it's thus for this one. The early postal or instrument, new forms of communication, digital age. Okay, in grappling with questions surrounding 21st century methods, courts will likely continue to be influenced by decisions made in colonial times. Grappling with questions surrounding 21st century methods, courts, we want to talk about the courts, right? The influence is by decisions made by that. No. It's not B. We want this part to be first, though. Yeah, because we're talking about the courts, the influence on the courts. I think it's A. Yeah. And then number 42, I think U.S. Supreme Court justices. I think this is better. I'm sounding it out in my head. I think this is an idiom question, but I'm just sounding it out in my head, or a punctuation, but D. I don't know. For some reason, I like D than C. But I'll clarify in the comment section if anyone has questions. U.S. Supreme Court justices eventually held that. Who eventually held? Yeah, I think it's the. Okay. Anyway, this is the end of the video. In the next video will be the math no calculator section. Thank you.